like to call this meeting of Monday, January 28th, 2013 to order and ask the clerk to take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lewandowski. Councilmember Moeller.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Mayor Rep. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Council has before them the minutes from the special and regular meetings of January 14th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Councilmember Cole? Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Harris. All those opposed signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to presentations. If the clerk will read the first item.
Number 1 is a proclamation recognizing a season for nonviolence, and it will be presented to Lynn Shabat and Sandy Quintano Cerny, co-coordinators of Blue Water Season for Nonviolence.
If I could ask them to join me at the podium, please.
Somebody does. Hello.
This proclamation, whereas every person can move the world in the direction of peace through the daily nonviolent choices and actions, and whereas an awareness of nonviolent principles and practices is a powerful way to heal, transform, and empower our lives and communities, and whereas January 30th and April 4th commemorate the memorial anniversaries of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and whereas an opening ceremony will take place at the Upper Level Acoustic Cafe, 1227 10th Avenue in Port Huron from 7 to 8 p.m. on Monday, January 30th.
That's all right.
Now therefore, I, Sherry Archibald, by authority vested in me as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Port Huron, and on behalf of Mayor Pauline Rep, Council Members Cole, Harris, Lewandowski, Moeller, and Ruiz, do hereby proclaim January 30th through April 4th, 2013 to be a season for nonviolence in the City of Port Huron, and urge all citizens to participate in local, educational, and community action campaigns and to honor those who are using nonviolence to build communities that respect the dignity and worth of every human being during this season for nonviolence and throughout the year.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, and it's Wednesday.
Yes. And I'm not Sandy, I'm Julia Rashofsky. Sandy couldn't be here, just like the mayor.
Love to have you. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, just a few words. Thank you. It is this Wednesday, January 30th. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. The Gandhi King season for nonviolence will begin with the observance at the United Nations in New York City and in hundreds of cities and other locales around the world. During the period between January 30th and April 4th, groups throughout Port Huron and St. Clair County will sponsor projects, programs, and to create a greater awareness of the principles and practices of nonviolence, including nonviolent communication workshops, anger management classes, films, artistic and cultural events, essay contests, and special activities for children. We in Port Huron have a great opportunity to focus the hearts and minds of our citizens on the principles and practices of nonviolence that were so vividly demonstrated by the actions of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you again for recognizing the importance of this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to presentation number 2.
Kim Harmer will update the council on the Pride in Port Huron program.
Should be able to go to your conference, man.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, City Manager Bruce Brown, and City Clerk Sue Child. This evening, I wanted to give you just a brief update as to this previous year's Pride in Port Huron program. We had another very busy year, and if we could, we'll perhaps start. Thank you. Pride in Port Huron in the last couple of years has been our campaign, working together and moving forward. And you should, throughout the warmer summer months, see signs in front yards and in front of businesses, local businesses that are participating in the program. Our our highlights of 2012, we had actually 32 structures demolished. Technically, it was 36, but we'll claim 32 for were done voluntarily with a little bit of suggestive power from ourselves and staff. So 10 of those demolitions were funded with NSP $1, and 11 were funded through NSP 3. This has been a huge program for our city in helping us recoup some of the costs of the demolitions and actually helping to incentivize, if you will, demolitions to individuals who knew that they needed to move forward but did not have the resources available to them. 3 renovations were due to the city imposing work agreements, and 5 demolitions resulted in lot splits where we took a property that was substandard, demolished the home, split that lot that was probably not a buildable lot, divided it, and then gave that to the adjacent property owners. And in all cases, they were then able to actually achieve a buildable lot for themselves. 12 court-ordered renovations were completed. Under our renovation grant program, which is through the Community Development Block Grant Funds, we were able to assist 21 homeowners this year. They received renovation grants of up to $10,000 to complete upgrades to the exterior of their home. They were referred to us by our inspectors or through blight complaints. The resources that we used this year included Community Development Block Grant Funds, which you'll recall we've had since 1984. Unfortunately, the last few years, those funds have diminished. We have also on our agenda tonight our first public hearing where we will listen to the needs of the community for those funds. We do not have an amount assigned to us this year yet from HUD, so we will go with last year's funding and then adjust when we do have that final amount, probably sometime in April. Last year was just a little over $650,000 available to us, which is about 50% of what we received a few years back. Home funds, a little over $180,000, again, about 50% of what we received in years past. Local partners, again, we've worked with the county on the NSP3 program. We've shared information. As you recall, we've put our application in for a large demolition grant program that we'll hear sometime at the end of February, and we worked with the county on that as well. Neighborhood groups, the Harrison Point neighborhood, the Gillette Street neighborhood, River Park, Old Town, Woodrow Wilson area neighborhood. They've all been hugely successful in working with us and helping us to identify individuals in their neighborhood that need a little extra help in renovating their home, maybe replacing their sidewalk, or getting that garage or shed demolished, and we thank them for those efforts. Citizens and investors. Many times we have a project that will come through our office, but it is an individual investor or a property owner who has agreed to go a step beyond what we require, and that has turned out to provide the community as a whole with a much nicer project than maybe what our resources alone could provide. Neighborhood stabilization program we've mentioned before, and we hope to continue that for the next year. I mentioned our neighborhood associations, block clubs, and watch groups, and again, I just want to give a shout out to the police department and to those neighborhood watch groups, the volunteers through the police department that are out there working, looking for individuals, again, that need our assistance. We have one through the police VIP program that works on Mondays and Wednesdays and has for over a year now, just helping us to identify the needs in the community and making that contact. Partnerships this year, once again, we worked with Blue Water Habitat for Humanity. They wanted to work in some very particular sites in the south end of Port Huron, and we were able to coordinate some of our resources to make sure while they have volunteer labor, they didn't necessarily have the dollars to provide for the shingles or for the siding material, and we were able to assist them in that partnership. St. Clair County Nonprofit Housing Corporation, it's a local nonprofit that deals with home ownership and home issues for those individuals who have some special needs. And we were able to work with them through one of our programs. They renovated 3 homes that were formerly foreclosed and vacant, They repaired the homes, brought them up to not only the standards of the surrounding neighborhood, but beyond. And those 3 homes, 2 of them are sold. Someone is living in them now. And the third one, a sale is pending. They have a 4th home that they will be putting together their renovation bid specs, and we hope to see started within the next 30 to 40 days. The Neighborhood Preservation Program also includes the facade grants that I mentioned. Community Development Block Grant funds are used primarily for those. The applicants can receive up to $10,000 to make improvements to the exterior of their home. Many things such as siding, painting, a new roof, a new front porch, things of that nature. The Emergency Repair Program is something else that we've offered over the last few years, and we try to coordinate with the Council on Aging. This is for individuals who are elderly and who have some sort of an emergency in the home. It might be the furnace that goes out in the middle of February or the roof that leaks. It could be broken window or something of the front porch is a very common one, or the need for new railings and that type of thing. The program allows us to sidestep, if you will, some of the red tape that we have to go through when we use federal funds and get up to $5,000 into that home for that emergency repair right away. And we were able to help 7 seniors this year with those types of repairs. We still have funds available, and if there are seniors out there that need something similar to that in an emergency situation, they would be encouraged to contact our office, and we'll get together with them right away. Just some examples before and afters. We have a property over on Whipple Street that participated in the program this past year, and I think it made a real nice improvement to the neighborhood. The property owners were excited. They were able to use some of their funds to match the grant that we gave them and do more on the interior. Over on Griswold Street, again, this had been cited actually for exterior paint. They opted instead to go through the facade grant program, and they were able to side the home. On Water Street as well, a big difference there. While there was work being done in the sidewalk and boulevard area, we were able to assist them in getting the work completed at the home. And the picture, of course, with the snow is a little hard to tell, but they've also done some additional landscaping on their own. Project Brush Up. We've had this program for a number of years, and it continues to be really very popular. Usually about in February, March, we send out letters to individuals letting them know that we've noticed their home needs a fresh coat of paint. And in that letter, we will include vouchers for 4 gallons of free paint. We have the participation of Port Huron Paint, Gilroy's, and Port Huron Building Supply, and we very much appreciate their continued support of the program and participation. Last year, we had over 232 gallons of paint provided, and it was a very simple program. Those who could paint their own home, the paint helped give them a jump start. They had the option then of participating in a facade grant program if they cared to, or if they had some special needs and couldn't paint the house themselves, they could also apply for additional funding to hire a painting contractor. We also went through and did an alley restoration project, and again, this is where I'd like to thank the volunteers through the police department's VIP program. They went through and inventoried, if you will, very specific areas and alleys for us to let us know where we had some problems and some issues where people weren't using the alley, and we really wish they would, to help with the parking and traffic. And those alleys, we then went back and dedicated some funding to have them either regraded and new stone put in, to have the brush cut back. The police department, as you recall, had a great program where they were putting in some security lighting on properties, private properties. We tried to coordinate it so that we were working in the same alleys as well. Homebuyer programs. Our Urban Pioneer program provides down payment assistance to individuals who want to buy a house in the city, and we want to encourage that. We have found become very strong members of the neighborhood, and they attend our homebuyer seminars through CAA. We have home maintenance classes and family budgeting classes that CAA offers that they can participate in. We continue to have almost a wait list, really, to participate in that program. We had 8 homeowners who participated in part of an NSP program that gave grant funding to individuals who wanted to buy a foreclosed home in Port Huron, but that home itself needed to be fixed up. And we coordinated this with local realtors. It was a way for them to bring us buyers, to entice them to move into Port Huron, to take an abandoned home, and those that we felt were not ready for the demolition program, but we didn't want to sit too long and languish, that we could offer that as an incentive for the sale. Enforcement of city ordinances, we were very busy this year as well. There were over 2,000 blight complaints that were dealt with. And I won't give you the entire breakdown there, but just as an example, a little over 1,000, almost 1,200 grass complaints received this year. Unfortunately, it was a nice summer, and that combined with the number of foreclosed homes that we have, we almost doubled the number of grass complaints that we received and the number of grass cuts that we needed to undertake. We had 35 potential code cases identified, and as you saw from our earlier slide, 32 of those were demolished. Our goals for 2013, May is going to be Clean Sweep Month again, and the projects that we have set up for May include neighborhood cleanup events. I'm proud to say that I already have a neighborhood. The Harrison Point neighborhood is set to go in May, and I thank them for that. Last year we did 2 neighborhoods. We hauled out over 100 tires, 2 dump trucks loaded with brush. I think there was a lot of participation and excitement, and that was due again to the neighbors, to the homeowners that were going up and down the street, handing out the flyers, encouraging the property owners to participate. So thank you for that. The main portion of May for that clean sweep is also to take all of our administrative staff and to make them aware of the fact that they are all our eyes and ears for situations in the neighborhood, to report that, to work together. The first part of May is identifying those so that in June and July, when we receive our grant funds, we are able to target those projects and make the limited amount of resources as efficient as possible. Community gardens. There is a community garden over on Hancock and Armour Street, and if you haven't visited that, you should. It's really wonderful. This young lady, she's been out there almost all of last summer working in the community garden, and I stopped one day and said, do you mind if I take your picture? She was a little reluctant, but you can see I did get a smile on her there. The community garden has grown in that it's not only 2 or 3 individuals from the Blue November group, but it's actually the neighborhood now, which is just what we wanted to see, working in the garden, utilizing the produce from the garden, donating produce from the garden. While I was there taking this picture, a young man came up on his bicycle and actually, which I'm a mother of teenagers, so I thought this was bizarre, actually asked for some squash. I wish my children would do that. But we have several other sites that are available. If there are neighborhood groups, if there are organizations that are interested, I would encourage them to contact us. I would love to sit down with them. I'd like to see more community gardens in our community this year, and it's kind of fun. The bonus grants that we're offering, we are in a position to have some grant funds available that would encourage conversion of rental units to owner-occupied homes, or to decrease the number of rental units within a structure. So if someone has a rental unit, and it currently has 4 rental units, and they would like to get some renovation dollars, we can offer some bonus bucks to have them decrease that 4 to possibly a 2 unit. It helps in the community as far as density, parking, and some of the other associated issues with a large number of individuals living in a small confined space. We'll continue with our code enforcement program as we've talked about before. This would be the year that we will go ahead and hire part-time combination rental and blight inspectors. We've divided the city up into sections, and we would hope to have them on board shortly here. We have several applications, actually 3 different applications out for additional money for demolition grants. This is a bit of a challenge because when we do demolish the property, of course, we put a lien on the property. But many of these, unfortunately, now, the banks are refusing the asset. The property owner has long gone. And I really want to make sure that the city is not on the hook for too many of those costs. So for us, part of that issue is looking and seeking out these competitive grants, and we continue to focus on that. Community Development Block Grant Funds, that's the next public hearing for you this evening, and I just want to let you know the time frame for that is tonight, a public hearing, and then in February at your meeting, we'll review a preliminary annual action plan, and then at the March 11th meeting, we would ask that the council would consider a final annual action plan, and that'll allow us to get the documents into the Department of Housing and Urban Development in time for our April 1st program year. And the April 1st program year is established by HUD, but I spoke with them today. We will not probably have our funding allocation finalized until sometime in the end of May. I don't imagine that we'll be able to actually get a release of funds until the 1st of July this year. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you again, Council, for your support on all of these programs.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We will now move on to public hearings. The clerk will read the first one.
To hear comments on the general needs in community development, housing, and special services.
Now is the time for anyone in the audience who wishes to address council concerning public hearing number 1 to come to the podium and give your name and address for the record, please.
Sarah Prout, I'm the Executive Director of Blue Water Safe Horizons.
Reverend Arnold Kuntz, Executive Director, Blue Water Area Rescue Mission.
We're here today to talk to you about the Community Development Block Grant Funds and the need of the homeless in St. Clair County. In the past, Blue Water Safe Horizons has been a recipient of grant funds under the Community Development Block Grant dollars. Up until last year, we received $17,500 for services to help the homeless in St. Clair County. Although Be Warm, Blue Water Area Rescue Mission, has not received those dollars, we are here today together to discuss the needs of our respective clients in the community. There are 53% of the people who are homeless in Michigan are adults and children. 65% of those homeless families are headed by women. Over the last 3 years, there's been 18.9% increase in homelessness in Michigan. Locally, that means because of the high unemployment rate, we are seeing our shelters completely full. Pathway, which is the physical shelter that Blue Water Safe Horizons serves primarily families, also women and single men. Blue Water Area Rescue Mission serves solely men. We have different populations that we serve, but both we're seeing a high number of increase of the number of homeless who are seeking our services. The majority of those are first-time homeless. Over 60% are the first time experiencing homelessness in our community. 55% of the homeless population, 60% are experiencing homelessness for the first time, and Michigan's overall homeless rate has grown by 24% in the last 5 years. 29% are essentially the working poor. Those are folks that we're seeing that they're always one paycheck away from losing their jobs. They lose it, they've lost their job, and have had to enter our shelter. And we've seen a 110% increase in the number of seniors who have had to be housed. Because, as you know, the Community Development Block Grant funds benefit low and moderate income persons, and 70% of its expenditures a particular time period must be used for benefiting low and income folks. Now, we understand that this has been a particularly difficult year for the city and for these funds overall, and therefore we are coming today As we tell you the need, we are doing individual fundraising and working with the United Way to be able to try to meet the needs of the services for the homeless. But what that's meant for both of our shelters is that we don't have the capacity to do capital improvements for our buildings which are aging. Pathways building is over 80 years old, and unfortunately, our boiler is over 40 years old, and we've been put on notice that we have to replace that boiler within the next year. It's likely to fail. And the agency simply does not have the capacity to continue to try to provide services to this increased number of folks. As you may be aware, we were actually, because of cuts in funding, recently forced to go from a 24 to a 16-hour shelter, even in the winter months. We don't have the capacity to do the capital improvements that are required. So rather than asking you to help us fund services we have coming here, I am asking for a $20,000 allocation to allow us to weatherize pathways so that we can make sure that our heating costs aren't as high, as well as to replace our boiler. Mr.
The request that I've submitted to the City Council, request for support from the Community Development Block Grant Funding, has 3 specific criteria as outlined by the government, and you see them listed on the sheet that I have given. But what I'd like to draw your attention to page number 2, it says, right just below meeting the urgent needs. As of January 14th of this year, we have 4 men that are actually in college in the welding trades program in order to meet the need within the state. We served 9,910 hot meals last year, up over 15% from the year prior. We provided 4,480 bed nights of service for individuals of St. Clair County. We are seeing astronomical numbers daily having to turn people away because we just do not have the capacity. We're running a little over 80–85% capacity at this time, and we are meeting the need, but we also have a heating system that is 25 to 27 years of age. It is a commercial unit on the roof, which is that some of the contractors in the area won't even touch it because it is commercial and it is on the roof. But it is also causing us severe problems as far as we've had over $2,400 in maintenance costs in the last 2 years alone. We need to desperately update that system so we can put the needed funds into serving our community rather than to taking care of antiquated systems. Therefore, I respectfully request that the City Council consider our request for funding an amount of $15,000 for the Blue Water Area Rescue Mission to update our heating and cooling systems.
Thank you.
May I?
Absolutely. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 1 closed. We'll move on to public hearing number 2, if the clerk would read it, please.
Number 2 is to hear comments on code case number 12-027 located at 1119 Mansfield Street to determine if it constitutes a nuisance as defined by city code. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the immediate demolition of the structure for listed violations.
You're already here. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, 1119 Mansfield Street is owned actually by Fannie Mae. We've had conversation with their representatives. They were here at the last council meeting, and they have agreed to the order of demolition if council so desires this evening. They do, excuse me, do not know yet what they might want to do with the property. It was suggested to them we could help them out with one of our programs if they'd like to donate the property. We're still having to work those details out. But the house has been vacant now for a little over 8 months, and the property owner has not obviously responded to any of our requests. Fannie Mae did step up to the plate and is working with us though on this one.
Are there any questions from council at this time? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on public hearing number 2? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 2 closed. Do I have a motion for immediate demolition?
So moved.
So moved.
Councilmember Cole, second.
Over.
Councilmember Mueller. The clerk will call the roll. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Seeing none, hearing none, the clerk will now call the roll.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Mueller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. We'll move on to public hearing number 3.
And it is to hear comments on code case number 12-028, located at 724 Bancroft Street, and it's to determine if it constitutes a nuisance as defined by city code. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the immediate demolition of the structure for listed violations.
Kim?
Mayor Pro Tem and Council members, 724 Bancroft Street, the water's been off since October 2012. And in consultation with the previous property owners, they have not responded and did not intend to. The bank has also not responded. And the property itself has fallen into disrepair, is obvious. So we'd like to go ahead with an order for demolition.
Are there any questions from council at this time? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on public hearing number 3? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 3 closed. Do I have a motion for immediate demolition?
So moved.
Councilmember Mueller. And support?
Second.
Councilmember Harris. Any discussion? The clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Mueller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. We will move on to public hearing number 4.
Is to hear comments on code case number 12-029, located at 1614 Scott Avenue, to determine if it constitutes a nuisance as defined by city code. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the immediate demolition of the structure for listed violations.
Councilmember, 1614 Scott Avenue has had the water shut off since March, of this previous year, and it has a delinquent payments of over $6,800. The property owner obviously then has not responded to us. We've had to do a cleanup at the site, and we've issued 2 tickets with regards to debris. So we would like to move forward with this one as well.
$6,800 in payments for what?
No, I'm sorry, $6,800 in back taxes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address public hearing number 4? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 4 closed. Do I have a motion for immediate demolition?
So moved.
Councilmember Mueller, second.
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. Any discussion? The clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Mueller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. We will move on to public hearing number 5.
Is to hear comments on code case number 12-030, located at 1856 Water Street, to determine if it constitutes a nuisance as defined by city code. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the immediate demolition of the structure for listed violations.
(1856) Water Street is actually zoned B for business district. The water was shut off in July of 2011, and there are property taxes back over $2,700 that are due on this particular property. It's had quite a bit of damage, and again, property owners obviously have not responded to our requests. So we'd like to move forward.
Any questions from council at this time?
Yes. I'd just like to comment, with all due respect, and I've talked to Ms. Harmer about this, for 20 years, this house has been in the same or similar situation. And I don't know what has been done in the past, but to me, it's been nothing. I've observed this place when I worked, I observe it when I walk, and it's way, way overdue. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on public hearing number 5? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 5 closed. Do I have a motion for immediate demolition?
So moved.
Councilmember Moeller, second.
Second.
Councilmember Harris. Any discussion?
Yes. If Councilmember Fisher was here, I'm sure looking at this, we'd get an historical preview of what this building had, some historical value. Not that it would change my vote, but there must be some history to the building, but just wanted to make that smart aleck comment, I guess, so thanks. I'm sure there's some historical value to this building. I don't know what it is, but
There may have been some point in time.
sometime, yeah.
Any other discussion? The clerk will take the roll, please.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. We will move on to public comment. The clerk has a correction to the agenda and some other items.
Under from the city manager number 3 and 4, administration is asking that those be withdrawn. And under resolution number 2, being considered under consent agenda, Richard Engel was inadvertently added to this list, and his appointment's not up until next year, so the resolution has been revised to remove his name.
Thank you. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address council on the agenda item or any other item under the city's jurisdiction, now is the time to do so. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please. You have 4 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kathleen McCready, and I live at 414 14th Street. And I'd like to thank Kim for mentioning and recognizing the things the Harrison Point Group has done. There was a comment I heard on the news recently that comes to mind. He is a politician. He is not a leader of a movement. Citizens for a Vibrant Community are not a political party. They are leading a movement in a word, to contribute to making our community more vibrant. Art on the River has been a growing success for 2 years. The planning is in earnest for the 3rd year event. While we are all dreaming of the warm June days, they are busy planning to bring in music, art, and other forms of entertainment to make the first weekend of summer one that is filled with enjoyment for all. I can just picture the warm June sun basking the musicians on the balcony, the artist vendors displayed in the Pocket Park, and the evening of music. Wouldn't supporting this event be a great way to start a summer filled with Art on the River, festival, and the boat races? Oh, and Maggie would not forgive me if I did not mention the float down. Thank you.
Can't see with my glasses on. Okay, Trina Avedisian, 15th Street, Port Huron, President of Citizens for a Vibrant Community. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, City Council, and Mr. Brown. I would like to thank you for giving our group the opportunity to come back before you and apply for mitigation funds and putting a process in place for groups like ours to apply for funding for these community-sponsored events through funds like these. This is the 3rd year for Art on the River. In 2011, we had 23 artists and crafters and 17 bands. In 2012, we increased to 48 artists, crafters, local businesses, and 31 bands. In 2011, we estimated attendance at around 2,000. In 2012, we saw a sizable increase to somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people. In 2012, we were so blessed to host the Michigan Traveling Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and with the help of the County Sheriff's Department, Marysville Police Department, Port Huron Police and Fire Department, numerous veterans organizations, along with Andrea LaFontaine, Brian Moeller, and Mayor Pauline Repp, we were able to welcome them to Port Huron. They were so happy with the welcome and the incredible turnout, they contacted us almost immediately after the event to say they wanted to return, which they will. We have some other tricks up our sleeve that I'm not at liberty to discuss at this time, and you can twist my arm all you want, I'm not saying a word. But suffice it to say, in just 2 years, this event has grown to potentially be one of Port Huron's premier events. Art on the River is planned and operated by 100% community volunteers. The commitment by the local businesses has been overwhelming, with great business partners like Jerry's Distributing, Crown Party Rental, Dyke Security, Wolverine Market, and many others. We are so blessed for the help they have given us. Local nonprofits like Blue Water Social Club, Blue Water Musicians Network, Lake Bonesteel Musicians Network, and the Black River Powwow have partnered with us as well to make this a truly special event. We would respectfully ask you to approve Resolution Number 1 and grant funding for Art on the River. With this funding, we can grow it even more. As you know, and even read in the Times Herald today, these events are great economic generators for our city and the local businesses. We have had 100% positive feedback from all the downtown businesses, and they have encouraged us to continue to grow this into something similar to the Ann Arbor Art Fair, and that is our goal. But we can't do this without more help, and that's why we are here now asking for your help. These funds were designated to help with economic growth and also to help grow local events that will attract people to our community. With these funds, we will be able to do more advertising outside of the area to bring people here to see what we have to offer. Hopefully, this will encourage them to return. With Art on the River in June, Blue Water Fest in July, and the powerboat races in August, we now have 3 major summer events in place each month to help Port Huron shine. Thank you for helping us by approving Resolution Number 1.
Good evening. Angela Kelly, Community Liaison for Citizens for a Vibrant Community. And I've moved back to Port Huron on 11th Street, so back in the fold here. Good evening, City Manager, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. I'd like to start out tonight with the meeting of opportunity. The definition is a good chance for advancement or progress. And that is why Citizens for a Vibrant Community is asking for the Council to approve Resolution 13-17 to use the mitigation funds for Art on the River. Per the agreement between the state and the city, the mitigation funds, in part, are supposed to be used for special events that promote economic investment and, of course, tourism. Art on the River is special and multifaceted event, just like the Blue Water area it is designed to promote. I hope you had a chance to review your brochure and packets that were given to you. And in the packet, it explained what Art on the River is all about, supporting local and spotlighting local. It shows our guests from out of state, county, and locally our amazing cultural resources, our artists, and our musicians. And with the businesses, restaurants, and nonprofits that participate, it shows our diversity. The setting of the event on the river in downtown Port Huron highlights our rich history and natural resources that have inspired us all. Art on the River is growing fast, and it's been funded by individual and business sponsorships. We are asking for the investment of the mitigation funds along with our sponsors to increase our advertising budget and also to help expand the event. Art on the River gives out-of-town visitors a reason to come to Port Huron. Our vendors stay at local hotels and campgrounds, and the type of visitors that come to Art on the River, those attract folks that are buying, not just visiting the local businesses. Art on the River has many partners, including River Days, that attracts visitors to enjoy the free fishing weekend and events on the water in Michigan during the weekend of our event, June 8th and 9th. Along with the traveling memorial wall, which brings in many veterans chapters from all over Michigan, and all of our participants give our visitors a taste of our local flavor. More importantly, Art on the River is a multi-generational event that shows off our young and upcoming bands and artists. And again, by design, rent for our 10-by-10 space is an unheard of cost for only $50 for both days. This is so first time and others who could not otherwise afford a space at our event get an opportunity to participate in our community event. Art on the River uses only local companies, so the funds would be put back into companies that specialize in tent rental, t-shirts, advertising, security, beer, wine, and soda distributors, ice, all importantly, the porta potties and event supplies. We are asking for you to take advantage of this opportunity to give back to our community members, partners, and artists that volunteer their time and resources to help make Art on the River fun, friendly, and show what a great and vibrant community we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Alfonso Amos, 132 Taylor Street. I just come to, talk to you about Resolution 13017 and the importance that I see that event in our community, the Art on the River event. I had the opportunity last year to volunteer with our kids zone for the Art on the River, which was definitely a treat for me. And it's definitely, when we think about a sense of community, I saw different individuals and different families come together for a great event and have a great time. And I think more events like this for our community is really important. And I would definitely like you all to consider investing in that aspect of our community. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, council members, city manager and clerk. I'm Terry Ruff from Port Huron Competitive Sports, District 14, Michigan Amateur Softball. Last Labor Day weekend, we hosted the 2012 National Modified Tournament here in Port Huron, and I'm just getting a little bit late to report, but it was a very successful tournament. We had 24 teams in the area. We had great crowds at Pine Grove Park, 16th and Knox Fields. It was the first time that we'd hosted a national tournament, softball tournament in Port Huron since 1975. We had a very successful tournament. We had special thanks to Tim Hickey of the Parks and Forestry Department for doing an excellent job getting the facilities ready. Nancy Windsor from the City Recreation Department for all her assistance and getting things organized for us. It was just an awesome tournament. Also, the Port Huron Police Department was very helpful. The Port Huron Lions Club was, and various local sponsors were very helpful in helping us raise this event, raise money for this event to pay all the bills and have a successful time. The people from out of town were just overwhelmed with the city of Port Huron and its beautiful waterfront in Pine Grove Park. At the National ASA Convention just recently in November, Port Huron was recognized as one of the top 10 tournament sites in the nation for 2012. And we received this award from it, recognizing the city of Port Huron as a national tournament host. For 2013, it's coming back to Port Huron. They've asked us to do it again, and we've decided to do it, and we're looking for help from the city. I know I've already talked to Tim Hickey and Nancy, and we're looking to, again, try to do a first-class event here in Port Huron. We're checking with local businesses to help raise funds to cover costs, and we're expecting probably about 30 teams coming into Port Huron this Labor Day weekend, so it'll be the fourth major good event going on this summer here in town. And we just want to thank the City Council for all their support. Also, on just a sidebar, last weekend, that Chili Fest that was here in town, the City Rec Department did an awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address council at this time? Seeing no one and hearing no one, I declare public comment portion of the meeting closed. We'll now move on to the consent agenda portion of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Councilmember Harris, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Ruiz, the clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Yes. Items included in the consent agenda were resolution number 2, confirming the reappointments of Kurt Epley and Casey Harris to the Downtown Development Authority for terms to expire February 9th, 2017. Resolution number 3, confirming the appointments of Gary Stolt, Gary Westrick, and Jeff Wine to the 2013 Board of Review with compensation in the amount of $600 per year per member, and setting the Board of Review meeting dates. Resolution number 4, confirming and approving single lot special assessments totaling $19,369.50 for demolition costs for 3 structures. And resolution number 5, approving the scheduling of a public hearing for February 11th, 2013, to hear comments on code case number 13-001, 1314th 12th Avenue, to determine whether it constituted a nuisance as defined by the City of Port Huron City Code. We will now move on to the, from City Manager. We have nothing. We'll move on to ordinances.
City manager.
Why do I not have that? All right, I apologize. From the city manager, number 1.
Is accepting the quote from BSB Communications Incorporated in the amount of $12,137.80 for upgrading the existing PA system at the wastewater treatment plant.
Do I have a motion to adopt this item?
So moved.
Councilmember Ruiz, second.
Second.
Councilmember Cole. Is there discussion?
Just curious if I could ask a quick question? Is this a budget,
Pro Tem and council members. Yes, what can I do for you?
was this a budgeted item?
Yes. The budget that was approved was for $12,000. It is $137.50 over the budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes.
Does pass.
From the city manager, number 2.
Is accepting the bid of Body Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $697,552.49 for the wet weather flow management project at the wastewater treatment plant.
Do I have a motion to adopt this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Cole, Councilmember Ruiz. Any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Harris.
I guess my problem with this is the fact that we're accepting the bid of Body Construction. Hopefully, I would imagine that they are bonded. I know they had a project in St. Clair last year where they couldn't obtain the bond. The other problem I have is, we are practically have eliminated the stormwater and the sanitary water. And this seems like we're adding something to a system that's just about complete. And I just have a problem with it. I mean, this is basically adding something that we're trying to eliminate.
Mr. Clegg, would you care to address that issue?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald and city council members. The combined sewer overflow control program was intended to address flows in the system. These are flows that never reached the wastewater plant. Amongst those flows were 2 components. One was runoff from our streets and from our properties overland, and the other is footing drain flow. When we separated the sewers, we took the runoff flow from our property and from catch basins and so on, and we put it into the storm sewers, and they continue to run out to the river. But the footing drain flows were impractical to remove and financially infeasible. The cost would have been something between $15,000 and $20,000 per property. Would have been extremely invasive to homeowners to remove those flows. So those flows remain. Not only do they remain without the opportunity for relief or overflow into the river. We now convey all of that flow to the wastewater plant. As a result, and we knew this as part of the design, it was actually part of the original design, we knew that the flows at the wastewater plant would be similar in its lows, but higher in its peaks. We have the adequate conveyance system to get the flow to the plant. And we have storage at the plant that's about 5.4 million gallons. The challenge is we have a choke point. We can take 56 million gallons in the front door, but we can't get it through primary to that storage tank. This project is designed to replumb the plant. So when those high peak flows come in, which are unusual, but they do happen. We can take that flow and plummet to the existing facility. We looked at alternatives. We asked, can we deal with these high flows? Some of the ideas floated were a secondary treatment plant to run parallel with the current treatment plant. There was expansion of the primary settling tanks. All of those projects were going to cost tens of millions of dollars. It appeared to us that replumbing the plant, as proposed here, would cost something under $1 million, which is still very expensive, but a much less expensive option. Our goal is that post-project, we don't have overflows at the wastewater plant after we've successfully dealt with the flows in the system. And that was part of the original project plan, and this is just the part of that program. And it was also included in the proposal that we had sent to council where we talked about wastewater plant improvements. There's about $13 million in wastewater plant improvements the council had reviewed, and we had indicated we'd be proceeding with those as time went on. We received the city council approved a $5.8 million bond to begin those projects. And this is the last of the projects to use those bonding dollars on. And those bonding dollars must be expended by June of next year if we're to be in compliance of our bonding covenants. So the project is funded by bonds that have already been approved by council. The project has come in under the budget that we had proposed. And it is part of the original plan of sewer separations to deal with these peaking flows at the plant.
Any other questions?
I guess my final question is the fact that are we not creating an indoor basin for this runoff?
The plant actually already has the basin. It's been there since it was built in 1973. However, what happened was we had 44 million gallons that can go through primary treatment. It's after primary treatment that we can split that flow. 33 million gallons can go through secondary treatment, and anything above that goes to primary settling. Our flows coming in the front door used to be lower because we had these overflow points in the system. Now we can have higher peaks. So that 44 million gallons in primary is a choke point. By replumbing the plant, it gives us more versatility in operation to prevent discharges at the plant. So we're protecting the river for a fraction of the cost of other proposals we had looked at.
Anyone else?
I just have one question, and I know I've asked this before, and I just can't remember. What does the as corrected mean?
The what?
As corrected? The bids are as corrected?
I apologize.
I know
Yes.
you've told us this before, but I just can't remember what it.
Yeah. What happens is sometimes when the vendor writes their bid down, there's components to the bid, and when they add their numbers up, it's wrong. We hold them to the unit prices, and if their math is wrong, the unit price rules, and so we correct it to what it really adds to, and that's what adds corrected means.
Thank you.
We're not changing anybody's bid, just correcting their math.
Any further questions? The clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. We will move on to resolutions.
Number 1 is approving an allocation of $8,820 to the Citizens for a Vibrant Community for their Art on the River event, with funds being allocated from the MDOT mitigation funding dollars.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Mueller.
I request that we postpone this. I make a motion to postpone this until the February 11th meeting.
Second.
Request to postpone to February, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Any discussion?
The reason I'm doing that is I'd like to get some more information on it before I make a vote on the issue. So that's why I'm just asking for more time for consideration.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I guess my reason is the same thing. I have received communications, which some of you have shared and stuff, and there are communications, and I think I'd like to sit down with these advocates for this downtown festival to, I think the number one is their cost. I really think that the amount of money they're asking for this event is excessive based on what we're doing right now, and maybe they can answer some of the questions that I received, and I would hope that this council would go along with that.
Any further discussion? Clerk will take the roll on the postponement.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
No.
Motion fails.
So we will move back to the original resolution.
Mayor Pro Tem, how'd that resolution fail?
You have to have 4 votes for everything that you do, at least 4 votes. And there were only 3.
Do I have a motion to adopt the original resolution?
So moved.
Councilmember Moeller. Support?
Second?
Councilmember Cole. Any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I guess I have the same amount of discussion as I had before. I wish that they could approach this council. We have a number of events going on that have little or receive little or no city money. And I think that as a group, I think we still should sit down with them and talk about their expenses, how they can get them where they're aligned with the city and stuff. And to be real honest, I'm not ready to allocate $8,000, but I do think that it's something that could be worked out.
Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Moeller.
I've never voted for anything to give money to these types of events or organizations, and so I would be contradicting myself if I voted yes to do so. However, this council has voted for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's come from out of town and given them money. And if there's a group that is deserving, this is a local group. I remember one of the complaints that one of the council members brought up before was that they didn't have a budget. They prevented a budget. That's all I have to say.
Any further comments? I will concur with Councilmember Moeller. I think this group does a great job in putting on this event. However, my opinion on this matter is that for 2 years, this group, including many others, came before us and begged us not to put taxpayer dollars into community events. They felt the city should not be funding events. So I have a difficult time voting yes to fund an event by this group, which is the very group that told us they didn't want to see us doing that. So that is the reason that I'm having a difficult time with supporting this particular resolution. With no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember Cole?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
No.
Councilmember Ruiz?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
No.
Motion fails.
We will now move on to ordinances. Clerk will read the first one, please.
Number 1 is being considered for its second reading and enactment and is an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Administrative Services, Divisions 4 and 5 of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of merging and consolidating the police and fire departments into the Department of Public Safety.
Do we have a motion to give this ordinance its second reading and adoption?
So moved.
Councilmember Cole, do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. Any discussion? Clerk will take the roll.
Councilmember, 1 second. Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald?
Yes. That concludes the business of our regular meeting.
We'll move on to announcements. As a reminder, a meeting regarding the Lakeside Park Master Plan will be held on January 29th at 6 p.m. at Palmer Park Rec Center. Registration is not required. Is there any other members of council that have any announcements? I believe City Manager Brown would like to say something.
I would. I would like to say something about the Chili Fest that we had just last weekend. It was a truly remarkable event, and a number of reasons. One was we gave the Parks and Recreation Department only 2 months to put it on, and they did an outstanding, fantastic job. All of the money that was needed to support the event was raised privately, and the decision was made to move it closer to the Silver Sticks event, which I think was a good one. I want to recognize Amanda Dickinson from the Parks and Recreation Department, who took this event on and did an amazing job. And of course, her boss, the beautiful Nancy Windsor, has done a fantastic job of putting this team together. Wing Teal was an outstanding person as far as volunteers were concerned. And I want to read the names of some of the people, I think we got most of them, that made this happen. And this was truly a community event, and I think a very outstanding event for downtown Port Huron. Christy Jones, Karen Stockwell, Tony George, Whitney Cura, Lori Sample-Wynn, Kathy Cole, Katie Gardner, Tom Kristen, Rob Churchill, and the McMorran staff, the 12 of the 19 downtown restaurants and bars, Sparky Hall, Ben Pionk, the young professionals, Renee Barr, Betty Dunn, a name that's familiar to most of us, Lori Zelke, Brad Ward, Monica Mercurio, Paul Murray, Charlene Arnold, Carl and Pat Fesky, and Trish Lefevre. And this is a wide, divergent group of people who came together to put something on that was really special. And I think we need to thank them and recognize them for their efforts. They did a great job.
I would agree. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, just to reiterate what Bruce just said, when things were, there's a few hiccups on Saturday morning and the city electrician was called out to do a little work and we had to replace, I guess they replaced the generator that kind of gone bad during the night, and that's kind of the unmentionable, but I was there in the morning just to see if the chili was there yet, which some of it had, but the electrician and the employees for the city did a great job, and it was a great event.
I failed to mention 6 volunteer judges who tasted all of the chili, and I was one of them. And it was a moment for Tums, let me tell you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.